amazing.
Thank you.
I'll get right into it. So I love the show. I love these characters. By the end, I felt like they were all my friends. So for both of you, what character do you actually wish could be your friend in real life? Like, who do you need in your life? Meagan could start.
And you know what? She is now.
Right.
It's interesting because I think that every one of these characters I love, and every one of these characters I want to see what's going to happen with them. And every time we would read a script, we'd be like, "Girl, guess what's happening? And guess what happened? And guess, you know." And I'm happy that each one of these girls, there is a part of their character in them, but that this actually translates to what you see on camera is real and it's honest and it's a part of us, but that love and that friendship has now like moved to real life where we're sisters and we love each other, we support each other and all of that. So definitely need me a Ty in my life. Oh, got one. Her name is Jerrie.
Nice. And I'm not saying this because she's sitting here because she chose me, but definitely a Camille for me because Jerrie, the person, is just a very intellectual person, and I was just learning so much and exploring so much through Camille's anthropology lens, which I think is something that we've never seen before. And so I would definitely want to pick Camille's brain about a lot of stuff.
Okay, love both your answers. I mean, everyone is great, so there's like no wrong answer there.
Yeah.
But Jerrie, I loved your character. Not only is she really funny, but as many shows that I watch that are centered on the Black female perspective, I very rarely see a queer Black woman be a focus. And so because of this, I was wondering, do you feel that, now you are in charge of representing for a whole community?
No, I don't know. I don't think that that I feel like with Black people, because like representation is like 50 years behind, right? That like when a Black person does something, when then they become the face of something, then it's like they can do no wrong or they can not make a mistake, or now we're shaming them for doing this because they've disappointed the whole community. No. I am a Black queer woman who loves to advocate for Black queer women, for Black women in general. I love the community. I support my community, and I love that Ty exists, and I hope that Ty starts more conversations, but I hope that Ty is just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So that then it's not like, well, Ty is every queer woman. It's like, oh no, but on this show you have this kind of person, and on this show you have this kind of person. Like that there's more nuance, and Ty is so multifaceted that it is a great springing off point. But that's what it is. It's spring off. Now we need to go and fly.
Absolutely. I love that. So I also really love that this is Black female narrative being put on full display. There's been so many lately. We've got like Insecure, Around the World, now Harlem, and I love this. I feel like we actually have room for all of these shows. I also feel like Black women are kind of on the same page. Like we really are just like doing the damn thing out here, and I love that. But so Meagan, I wanted to know what enticed you to join this show and join this cast?
I saw myself and I saw my friend group, and I saw, every time I see a show that's centered around women, and then especially women of color, of course, to some degree, I see myself. But these characters are so specific, and not specific to the point of where I think so many women are going to see themselves in this character, but specific to me, like in terms of my upbringing and my friend group and what those dynamics are, is the first time that I was like, oh my gosh, I know this person. Like so much of my character is based off of my best friend Amy, who's also a Gemini. Like so a lot of the things that the choices that I made for Camille were based on like that personality type, but then there's also a lot of me in her as well. And so I think what I just fell in love with was something that felt very authentic and fresh and unique unto itself, even if it is existing in a wonderful world of diversity inside the diversity.
Well, that is all my time, ladies, but I appreciate you both so much. I'm excited for the show, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hey, Paris. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
All right, so let's get started.
Okay.
So Harlem is obviously a woman-centered show focusing on the perspective of Black women. But
Yeah,
do you think it's time to hear from Black men? Like, could a similar show from the Black male perspective be beneficial?
for sure. I feel like all of our stories deserve to be told. In whatever time is necessary. So I feel like but even as a man, watching this watching this story unfold about Black women, I still get lots from it. And we had talked about this. We had talked about this, a lot today, just about how the Black experience is not. It's not this monochromatic thing where it's one hue of the rainbow or it's one experience. We're strong and we're vulnerable at the same time. So it's like, even as a man, it was, I got a lot from watching these women.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad. You should.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but how do you think viewers will perceive your character? Do you think this will be like a Team Ian kind of thing, or could you possibly be public enemy number one?
Oh no, for sure, it's gonna be Team Ian all day. So no, just saying. It depends what scope or what lens you watch it through. One thing I think that at the end of the day is that is I find this in life too. I always end up rooting for people that are chasing something. That are trying to find their passions, that are doing the self work necessary to advance in life. Whether it's like you know raising your emotional IQ or just trying to figure out your finances. Like people that are going after what it is that they want, I have a tendency to root for them. But that's just because that's what I do in life. That's the scope that I see it through. So it really just depends. If you're a hopeless romantic, you may see him as the villain because it's like he's leaving his true love to go chase something else, even though it's his passion. So it's open to interpretation. That's one thing I love about the story.
I agree. It was really hard because I went into it thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna be against Ian. I've got to support the woman, but it's
Yeah,
very hard because I understood both parts.
for
So
sure.
it's a really cool story. But
Yeah, yeah, I
I thought
agree.
your character Ian was really refreshing because it's often portrayed with the man kind of not knowing who or what he wants, but Ian was ready to commit to everything, to his job, to Camille. So do you personally still believe in this whole like when you know kind of thing, or do you believe it's not that cut and dried?
In terms of when you know what your partner or like your passion or both.
Both partner and passion.
Yeah, I think I think one thing that we got to do as people is we have to get more of a keen sense of listening to our inner self when it talks. Your gut instinct, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of times it could speak to you about a person, a relationship. A lot of times it could speak to you about a direction on where to go in life. So I think whatever's going on in your life, if you have that inner voice that's telling you what to do, or that's leading you in a place that where you're feeling it first, where you're not letting it go up here, but you're feeling it, you're keeping it down here. Like I feel like that's a voice or a feeling that deserves to be listened to. Um, no matter what it's about.
It's definitely a muscle that has to be trained. It's not always so easy to
Yeah, it's
listen
not.
to your instincts, trust your gut.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not. It's got to be trained. It's definitely a skill set that deserves to be worked on.
All right. Well, outside of the relationships and trying to navigate through the working world, another main highlight is Harlem, the actual city. So,
Mhm.
how was it filming in the city? Did you feel like you learned something new?
Yeah. First of all, it was lots of it was freezing out. we shot in the winter, but it was I had passed through Harlem plenty of times just being from Philly, but I had never spent that much time there to actually really get a sense of the community. And one thing that I took away from it that will stay with me that I try to emulate in my own community was just that sense of pride in your community. And it's not about it's not even about what anyone from the outside thinks. It's like here we have an identity and it's something that deserves to be preserved. You know what I mean? So it's like one thing I got that I was trying to take into my scenes and into my character as a person that's from Harlem, which Ian is just that sense of pride. You know what I mean? Even when he tries to bring back a taste of Paris through like a fine French cuisine restaurant and tries to introduce it into Harlem. So like to understand why I'm getting this pushback from my people, I see that from the people in real life in Harlem. So it's like it was a beautiful thing to be able to experience that sense of pride.
Thank you so much. That was all my time, but I really,
Okay.
really enjoyed the show. So, congratulations.
And I enjoyed our time together. I appreciate it.
Hi, Paris.
Hi, ladies. So good to see you both.
So good to see you.
All right, so let's just get into it. So your chemistry on screen together is so good. I thoroughly enjoyed watching any scene with Quinn and Angie. But but Angie is a riot. So Shaniqua, were there ever takes that you just couldn't get through because it was just so outrageous or funny?
Yes. And I learned very quickly you better get that together because we were working with the incredible Malcolm D. Lee. And he gave me at one point like an improvisation, just like whispered, just switch up this line real quick. And it was it's the scene where we were in the restaurant, the first time we shot it, we're in the restaurant with your mother. Mm-hmm. And he gives me this one line and I couldn't even make it through. And the reason why he whispered it to me was so that it could be a surprise for Grace, for Jasmine, so that they could get a genuine reaction. But it was so hilarious, I couldn't make it through it. So I ruined the surprise. And I saw his reaction, and I was like, I ain't never doing that again. You better hold it in. You better be professional. But the writing is just so hilarious. Like, Tracy just blew my mind with the quips and the one-liners, and it's just brilliant comedic writing. And then also like the freedom to improvise they allowed on set was just a joy. You don't really always get the chance to play that much as an actress. And there are like, I think a lot of improv that they actually kept in the show. So I'm just so grateful to Tracy for the opportunity to play.
I believe it that there was so much improv because it seems so real. It seems so natural. Each character was actually really funny on their own too, and it just, the one-liners were great. I was really cracking up. Like, these are my girlfriends, so
yes.
love that. But I was saying, I definitely saw myself in all four of the main characters. So I was just wondering, Grace, which character could you relate the most to? Where you're like, I could see myself being this person.
On script, I probably would have said Camille. As I started to craft Quinn, I was shocked at how many Quinn moments I had in my own life. And I was like, at first I'm like, I'm not really Quinn, but let's do this, you know what I mean? And then it was like, oh, okay, I can relate to that. And then it was like, oh my God, I feel like Quinn. Then I'm like, I am Quinn to a certain extent. Oh my God, you know what I mean? So I really do enjoy continuing to flesh her out and bring her to life, but I have to admit there are many Quinn moments that I definitely feel like I have to take ownership of that, and I love it because I feel like there's so many people out there that can totally relate to Quinn and Angie and all the girls, you know what I mean? So I think that relating to any one of the characters is a beautiful and wonderful thing.
I always feel like the bougie one in the group gets the least love, but you know what? We're all a little bougie, right? I feel like
and also too, I think that there's a difference between liking luxurious things and being bougie. Yeah, I was saying earlier, like I think that bougie is a mindset, right? And there's nothing wrong with being bougie. If you want to describe yourself as that, that's wonderful. But I also don't think that everyone that comes from money or has access to money necessarily has a up in the clouds, not a down-to-earth kind of mentality or awareness of their privilege as a person of color. I would say that, as a person of color. So I also love being able to kind of play in that realm a little bit and show some dimension to what it means to be of a higher, financial class and how she navigates that and how she feels like that defines her or doesn't, so.
I really like
I actually felt like Angie was like probably the most bougie character to me. Listen, I will use anybody's card to avoid taking a regular Uber. Okay. Like it's she only eats and travels a certain way. And she even says at one point in one of the shows that how people perceive you is reality. And so she's so obsessed with creating a picture of the life she wants, even whether she has it or not, or whether she's doing it on someone else's dime. The perception for her, the items and the things of luxury and success matter to her the most right now because she doesn't feel like she has it.
And I will also say, like, I love how we also take that mentality of like luxuriousness and even bouginess, and we take away the stigmatization from that, right? Because there's always like, oh, you bougie, like it's a bad thing. But I think it's so wonderful to be a Black woman, to be a woman of color, to step out and be like, I like nice things. I like luxurious things. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's no negative connotation. And draw me a bubble bath. Let me eat some good pasta. Like, you know what I mean? So I love that too.
It should be the norm. It shouldn't be like, oh, bougie Black girl. It should just be the norm. We like luxury.
Yes.
So
To
I
our standards. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that is all my time, ladies. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
So nice to meet you.
So I absolutely love the show. I love that it's based in and centered around Harlem. There's so much history there that gets overlooked. So what drew you to telling a story with Harlem as this silent main character?
I wanted to do it at the time because I was watching like Girls and Broad City, and then, you know, I was a big fan of Sex and the City as well. And they would never shoot in Harlem. Like, I just kept noticing that, like, they would shoot in every single neighborhood in New York except for Harlem. And for me, that was just like a really magical, special place. And I just felt like it deserved more attention and more love than it was getting. And especially in the comedic space, at the time I had never seen anybody do anything showcasing like Harlem, and it's such a iconic Black city that I was like, that's kind of weird that we're not doing more of that. And then also I just wanted to make sure that Black and brown New York was represented. And I wanted to tell the story of me and my friends and what it was like to be in New York.
Oh, and I love it. It's true. Harlem is always overlooked, and I don't know why. It's such a gem. So thank you for highlighting it.
Sure, of course.
But pretty much all the topics and issues brought up in the show were relatable and things me and my girls definitely talk about even recently over Thanksgiving. It's so current. But I love how these topics were introduced with a little bit of facts and history, but also with opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you narrow down which issues or topics you felt needed to be highlighted?
Whew. It's hard. I'll admit it's really hard because there's so much to talk about. But anytime in the writer's room, if I feel like people are really excited about something and the conversation is flowing and everybody's contributing, then I'm like, okay, then we have to include this. And one of those moments for me was somehow we got started talking about the strong Black woman, you know, theme and idea, and we were just all kind of like disgusted with it in the sense of like, we acknowledge that there's so much pressure put on us to always be put together and to be strong and to be professional, no matter what we're dealing with. And even that was kind of like how my parents, or my mom in particular, raised me, was like, you never let someone see you cry. You leave, you go to the bathroom, you do whatever like you can, but you never show weakness. And with that type of pressure, it's almost like no matter what we're dealing with in life, we can't really emote and express it, and that's just too much pressure. And that's what we were just talking about in the room. And so the fibroids thing came up organically, and then other like sad things we were dealing with were coming up in the room. And yeah, when it hits home like that, you know that you have to include it.
Yeah, that was one of the topics that I was surprised how much I loved it, because I always was proud to be a strong Black woman, but it's exhausting. And Angie the character said something like, Black excellence is like a form of oppression or something. I feel like it's oppression. And I was like, yes, actually, it really is. I love these topics, and I just never even thought about it in this way, although it was very true to the life of a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just side note, so prior to watching this show, I noticed there were comments about the similarities to this show, Harlem, and Run the World, or like a Sex and the City. And people are saying like, oh, there's too many of them. I feel the opposite. I feel like we have room to share all these stories. Were you concerned about people comparing the shows?
I definitely was. And I do have to say, for the record, we were first. We're we're releasing After, but at the time when I wrote it and sold it, there was nothing like it in the marketplace. And because of COVID, we got delayed and a bunch of stuff. So now we're coming out After. And regardless, what I have come to realize is that I think it's slightly problematic to say there's too much content with Black women, because what's going to end up happening if we continue that narrative is that we're not going to get a lot of shows with Black women, and there are so many other stories that should be told. So I think that we have to watch that, because I think it's a really unhealthy way of viewing things, because it makes it seem that like how Broad City and Girls existed, white women in New York, totally different shows, totally different audience bases. Maybe there was some overlap because I watched both of them, but I wouldn't say that they were the exact same show just because they were both same age range, white, and in New York. And when it comes to marginalized communities, it's easy to say, oh, well, it's all the same. So let's just reduce it down to, oh, they're Black, so it's the same show. And that's problematic because that's denying that each creator has different experiences and nuances that they're bringing to the show. And also, it's saying that we can't all coexist, that there can only be one at a time. And if we believe that, then we're not going to have progress. We're not going to continue to have content. So I think it's a problematic point of view, to be honest.
It's extremely problematic and very frustrating. I can see 5 more, 10 more of these shows because I've watched both Run the World and Harlem, and they're 2 very completely different stories. And so I just really, really hate this narrative going around. Wanted to address it, but that is all my time, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you too. Thank you.